want you to look at what Moses said, laying upon or sitting upon the stool right before his demise, before God would take him to heaven, in the chapter 11 of the book of Deuteronomy. Verse number 18 down through verse number 20. I was looking at this today, thinking about the service tonight. You know what's so amazing to me is most churches that I have preached in can't even get one piano player. And we don't just have piano players, we've got guitar players, you've got drummers, and then you've got a whole youth band. Truly, God's been good to us. What do these kids need from us now? These children have blessed us tonight, but they don't carry the weight. They are simply the reward of the labor that we've put in. Moms and dads and workers, what do they need from us? Deuteronomy 11, verse number 18, down through verse number 20. Therefore, shall ye lay up these my words in your heart and in your soul. Bind them for a sign upon your hand, that they may be as frontlets between your eyes. And ye shall teach them your children, speaking of them when thou sittest in thine house, when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, when thou risest up. Thou shalt write them upon the doorpost of thine house, and upon thy gates. Moses, it's about time to go meet the Lord. What do you have to say? Moses, tell us about the leaving from Egypt. Moses, tell us about what it was like when you walked upon dry ground. Moses, tell us what it was like, brother, whenever you saw manna picked up every day. Moses, tell us what it was like eating quail. He said, I will, but before I do that, do me a favor. He said, I want you to take these my words, and I want you to put them in your heart, and I want you to put them in your soul, and I want you to put them between your eyes, and I want you to put them on your hand. All right, Moses, we'll do that, but tell us about the miracles. He said, you've missed it. The miracles were not there to impress you. They were there to show you who God really was. God's done something greater than the miracles. He's given you His Word. Now put it in your heart. He said, okay, I will. He said, I want you to do me a favor. When you put it in your heart, put it between your eyes, put it on your hands. And everything you do, let that be what guides your hands. And everything you see, let that be what filters your eyes. Everything you feel, let that be what guards your heart. Let the words of God. He says, all right, what do you want us to do? He said, do me a favor. Teach them. Teach them to your children. Make sure that you give to the next generation what you have been given. We've been given a great gift. We sit in a building that was a great gift. We worship with people that are great gifts. What do we do for these kids? There's three things that we do for these children going into a school year. Number one, the first thing we do is we give to them the meat of the Word. He said, take these my words. The words that God gave to the man Moses, He said, take these words and give them to your children. Brothers and sisters, I'll tell you where churches miss it. They think you have to entertain kids in order to keep them. They think that you have to give them something to do in order for them not. That's not what builds youth. People miss it. They think you've got to make sure you impress. That's not what builds youth. Are you ready? Children want to know what's real. Teenagers want to know what's real. And if you will give to them what's real, they'll forever stay. What you'll find is a child, a teenager, a college kid that has been given the milk and meat of the Word of the living God. Even when they go away, they're like a boomerang. They just can't help but fly right back to you. Teachers, you keep teaching them what's real. You keep preaching to them and singing to them. Mom and Dad, every night when you go, before you lay them in their bed, make sure you tell them there is a God in heaven. It's not about reading a certain portion of Scripture to them every night. It's not about making sure they get the verse in. It's about them knowing that there is a God in heaven and that mom and dad believe in that God that created the sun, the moon, and the stars, they need us to continue giving to them the milk and the meat of the Word. The second thing he says I want you to do is you need to give to them the consistency of a testimony. Watch what he says in verse 19. He said, speak it to them when you sit in your house and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down and when you rise up. Now think about that. He said when you're sitting and when you're walking, when you're laying and when you're going. You know what he's saying? He's saying everywhere you are and everything you do, make sure you tell them all about it. He said, I want you to say the same thing out there that you do in here. I want you to be the same thing out there that you are in here. Can I tell you the greatest danger to this group of children that are sitting on about 6 rows of church pews on a Wednesday night is not the homosexual crowd coming out of Nashville. The greatest threat to these children are not the atheists that will fill their classrooms and will line their college hallways. You ready? The greatest threat to a child in the church of Jesus Christ is a hypocrite. The greatest danger to any teenager is hearing one thing and seeing another. But if you'll be the same thing out there that you are in here, if you'll be just as salty out there as you are in here, if you'll be just as lit up out there as you are in here, you will find the consistency of a testimony is what will make the difference in their life. There's some of you right now, you still talk about a grandmother because she sat in a chair and made a difference in your life. Some of you still talk about a teacher that made a difference way out there. What was it? It wasn't what they said, it wasn't what they did, it was who they were. There are moms and dads right now under the sound of my voice. There are things in your life that are going to be the biggest hindrance for your children. There are things in my life that will be the biggest hindrance for my kids. I want to make sure that my kids don't see Preacher Tyler in here and Tyler out there. I want them to know there is something real in here and there is something real out there. I want them to know that Dad, even though he struggles, even though he has battles, even though he has weariness, even though he gets mad sometimes, that there is something, an anchor on the inside of his heart, that no matter where he goes and where the winds blow him, there's something that draws and anchors him down. I want a consistency in my testimony. I don't want to be the guy that's in here preaching one thing and going out there having a filthy mouth. I don't want to be the guy in here says, how you doing, sister, but then looks at things out there that ought not be looked at by a child. I want to be just in here what I am out there and just out there what I am in here. I promise you this, mother, father, mama, daddy, grandma, grandpa. The most wicked devil in the world cannot get through the testimony made of iron. The devil will never break through what's real. The third thing that our children need after we give to them the meat of the Word and the consistency in our testimony, it's the might of our prayers. Every morning when our kids leave, whether I lay my hands over their head or whether I just pray as they walk out the door, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make His face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May He lift up His countenance upon you and give you peace. God, protect my children as they go and as they come. Laying our kids on the altar and saying, God, they are yours. Now protect them behind, before, beside, and beneath. Our kids, my kids still get so embarrassed sometimes at night. I don't get lay in a bed with them anymore. They stink, and so I don't do that. But they'll be laying in the bed at night, and I still do it. I'll still go and I'll take my hand and I place it right over their forehead, and we just pray. I can hear my wife in there sometimes when it's her night to tuck them in bed. I can hear her in there praying over them. We can be irritated with them. We can be frustrated and ready to go to bed, but I can still hear Mother taking her hands and saying, now let me pray with you right quick for you. Now sometimes it's a pretty fast prayer. It's what I call the flash prayer, because if she keeps her hand on their head long enough, she might pinch it right off, but still. I'm telling you tonight, what Baptists have missed is the power found in the prayers of the saints of God. I've been around long enough to know that what might cannot do, prayers can do. What programs cannot afford, prayer can afford. There are many people, and I'm absolutely astounded at how the devil has told our people that they don't know how to pray, and so they don't even take, and it embarrasses them to pray with their family. It's an awkward feeling to say, you know what, let's pray together. Brothers and sisters, if you feel that awkwardness, you're not alone. We all feel that whenever we try to do. That is an awkwardness that the flesh puts upon us. That your children are not going to think you're wonderful, or they're not going to think that you're great. No, they're going to think that you're just some old. No, that's the flesh. You've got to push through the flesh. And I'll tell you, if you would just take time to pray. I was thinking about something today, this Good News Club, where the people in the church go and pray over doorknobs and classrooms and teachers' podiums and all the things that they do. If a group of people would ever lay hold of real praying, I'm talking about heaven-sent, sky blue, hell-shaking, devil-making mad prayer. I'm talking real, the kind of praying that would make your grandmama's teeth come out of her head because she's praying so hard. I'm talking real praying. No, we ain't going to do that, though. You know why? We're educated. We've learned the ways of the world. We know what really builds programs, and while we work in the ways of the world, the devil penetrates the heart of our kids. The might of prayers is what we owe to our kids. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to lay out all these kids on this altar tonight, and we're going to pray over them. You say they're going to get embarrassed. I hope they do. I hope they get so plumb embarrassed that they think something's odd. Something's different. So babies, I want you just to hop on this altar. Just kneel all the way around. Ladies, lay your hands on the girls. Men, lay your hands on the boys. And I mean pray that God will protect them as they go to school in the next 2 weeks. That God will touch them and strengthen them. Y'all come on around if you've got to. Y'all can go all the way around this whole altar. If you're going to college, you come on too. We'll pray over you.